In a couple of my videos, I mentioned cold performance or on-demand performance, and there was a bunch of the questions asking follow-ups about how you get better at that and all that kind of stuff. So, thought it was just easier to make a video as opposed to answering the questions that were kind of worded differently, but along the same lines. So, I'll call on-demand performance or cold shooting the first rounds you fire out of the gun that day, whether it's at a match, it's a demo for teaching a class, or most commonly for people probably your practice. The thing hopefully you're doing the most often of those scenarios. So when I go to the range, I put a lot of emphasis on how good I am for my first repetitions out of the gun. Examples would be I get my stuff on, I set up, I got fresh targets, haven't been shot yet, and I go through 3 or 4 repetitions of the drill. I go down and I look in the targets, and then they don't have a single alpha, or there's a piece of steel out there that I can't hit to save my life, or there's a penalty target, a no-shoot target that I hit 2 times for 3 runs. I'm exaggerating a little bit, but you get what I'm saying. Along those lines, not the way you want to behave. The contrast to that would be I set up a little drill or scenario or a drill. In my practice, I do a couple maybe dry draws, just dry fire draws, just facing a berm, something like that, or something like a safe table, like what you do at a match. And then I can go out, and maybe it's not the best I've ever done in my life, but I could do it 1 time, 3 times, 5 times back to back. Just nice, repeatable results. Again, not the best I've ever done in my life, but nothing terrible. Just behaving the way I would want to behave in a match. For people familiar with competition shooting, just on-demand performance is another way of saying it. So, how do you increase that ability or make that better? First off, you have to have the skills on board, because that cold shooting thing I was just describing is you trying to bring the best version of yourself. Not any of that new year, new me kind of crap, but just meaning I can do the thing, or I have the skill or the talent to do this thing. I'm just going to try to do the thing now on demand, put a little bit of pressure on myself, and be able to do it. So first, like I said, you have to have the skills. Second off, you have to kind of know what tendencies you have, what inputs or cues are a different way of saying it that you need to discipline yourself with or program yourself with to make that happen. A couple examples. Let's say you are an over-aimer. So every repetition, you really fight the urge to bring the sight up to your eye line, stare at the sight, whether it's a dot or irons, doesn't matter. You stare at it for a long time. You compare that to the target, sights the target. At some point, it looks really, really good. Then you decide to fire. So, again, a little bit of an exaggeration, but you get the idea. Gun comes up to your eye line on a close target. You refine the sights way too long, wasting time. Maybe that's something you do. The reverse could also be true. Without any programming or you telling yourself to react to a certain sight picture, just draw the gun out. Maybe you grip it well, maybe it's gripped a little bit loosely or not perfectly, and just full send at the targets, full Shreddy Krueger, and hits kind of go all over the place and not a good result. That's another thing that could happen. So by discipline or programming yourself, thinking about it ahead of time, what needs to happen or what you don't want to have happen, not don't think, or not the negative. People talk too much about, like, this is not one of those self-image things, but not thinking negatively about as opposed to thinking don't have trigger freeze, I would think relax my firing hand because that's more actionable. As opposed to don't hit the no shoot, I'm likely to stare at the no shoot and then hit it. Instead, for those two things, I could be thinking keep my firing hand relaxed, grip hard with my support hand, relax my firing hand, make sure I pick spots on the targets I want the bullets to go. It's way more actionable than thinking about something I don't want to have happen. Instead, I just think about what needs to happen. So if I'm rehearsing it through in my head, I could think, what's going to happen? I'm going to stare at the spot I want the bullets to go on the first target. Firing hand goes to the grip of the gun. Draw the gun out. My support hand meets. Once the gun gets to eye line, I'm going to wait till I see the color of my sight. Then I'm going to start firing. You can think about your grip. If you think you're likely to clamp down with your firing hand, you could be thinking keep your firing hand loose or relaxed. If you're thinking you're going to spray bullets at the target, you could be thinking make sure I'm disciplined. I look at spots in the target and not just sling bullets at the shapes or colors of the target. So a little bit of this is self-awareness from practicing and understanding what tendencies you have. Then when you're either on practice, just working on your cold shooting, or if you shoot competition in a match, then you're just trying to bring, like I said, the best version of yourself to the match. So what things do you have to do to either give yourself a kick in the ass because you might be somebody that doesn't run hard, you kind of just jog where you should be running your guts out, or over aiming when you should be, no dummy, you see the color of the sight, it's good to go, time to shoot. The flip side to that, somebody who lacks discipline or self-control, make sure you see the color of your sight on every single target, no exceptions before you pull the trigger, or making sure you're not running like a bull in a china shop. If again, in a competition sense, it'd be when you're running to a spot, make sure you've looked down at some point to know where you want to stop or where your feet need to be. Then you can look up for targets once you see the appropriate sight picture. Then you start shooting, that kind of thing. Again, knowing how you tick and what inputs or guidelines you need to give yourself to stay on the rails. Sight pictures and grip are just an easy one because that's going to apply to most people. But that's it. That's how you try to train your cold performance. To recap, you have to have the skills to begin with, so you have to be able to do it mostly on demand in a practice or in a warmed up practice. Then when you're cold shooting, you just walk up, putting your attention in the right spot, not giving yourself a mulligan, just thinking, hey, the first 20 or 30 rounds I fire today really matter. That's as good as I am for today. And then whatever inputs, guidelines, thought process, programming you need to give yourself to be able to stick to the plan, just hit the targets, don't do anything dumb. Then once you do your cold shooting, then you can start pushing to try to get a new personal best. Or if you're one of those one reload one or build drill people for YouTube, just start firing those up that way, or Instagram. That way you can get the likes, comments, follows, subscribes, and the hell yeah brothers in the comments. So anyway, hopefully that makes sense about your on-demand performance. If you have questions for me, drop them below. Oh yeah, and hit the like and subscribe or whatever like, share, subscribe nonsense I'm supposed to say too. So anyway, hopefully that's helpful. If you have comments, drop them below.